3 hours before our daughter walked down the aisle, my husband asked me to pretend I still loved him. By then, I already knew he had been sending money to another woman for 19 years. Her name was Lydia Vale. She knew where we lived. She knew our daughter's name. And that morning, an envelope had been slipped beneath my hotel room door. Inside was an old photograph of my husband standing outside a courthouse. On the back, someone had written 6 words: "Ask your husband what we buried." I found Thomas alone in the bridal suite hallway, standing beneath a gold sign that read, "Emily and Nathan, forever begins here." He was wearing the navy suit our daughter had chosen for him. His tie was slightly crooked, and for one foolish second, instinct almost made me reach up and fix it. 28 years of marriage does that. Your hands remember tenderness after your heart has stopped trusting it. Thomas held out a brass hotel key. Room 814. Not our room, his. Because before sunrise, I had quietly moved my suitcase into another suite. He had noticed. Of course he had. Thomas noticed everything when it threatened appearances. "Rebecca," he said, keeping his voice low, "Emily deserves one peaceful weekend." Behind the closed bridal suite doors, our daughter was laughing with her bridesmaids. Someone turned up the music. Someone sprayed perfume. Someone shouted that the flowers had finally arrived. Life continued 10 feet away, while my marriage stood in a hallway waiting to be sentenced. Thomas stepped closer. "Whatever you think you found, please don't do this today." Whatever I thought I found. 19 years of bank transfers, one woman, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and a photograph telling me my husband had buried something with her. I looked at the man I had loved since I was 24, Judge Thomas Sloan, respected, measured, the kind of man people trusted because he never raised his voice. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" I said. His eyes moved toward the bridal suite door. "Smile for the photographs. And after the photographs, we talk. You have had 19 years to talk." Pain crossed his face. Not guilt. Fear. That frightened me more. Then he said the one thing I was not expecting. "Please act like you still love me until Sunday." I stared at him. Down the hallway, our daughter called, "Mom? Dad? We need you." Thomas held out the room key. A peace offering. A warning. Maybe both. I took it. Then I reached up and straightened his tie. Anyone watching would have seen a wife helping her husband prepare for their daughter's wedding. Only Thomas heard what I whispered. "I can pretend for 2 days." His shoulders lowered. Relief. That was his first mistake. He thought my agreement meant forgiveness. He did not know I had already invited Lydia to the wedding. He did not know she was somewhere near the hotel. And he did not know that before the weekend ended, I would discover the secret he had spent 19 years hiding was not only his. My name was buried inside it too. 6 days earlier, I had been looking for a passport. Nothing dramatic, nothing suspicious. Thomas and I were supposed to leave for Lisbon 2 weeks after the wedding. The trip had been Emily's anniversary gift to us. 28 years deserves something romantic, she had said. I almost told her 28 years deserved an audit. Instead, I kissed her cheek and thanked her. That Monday morning, Thomas was at the courthouse. I was home, going through the locked drawer in his study because he kept our travel documents there. The drawer was old mahogany. My father had given Thomas the desk when he was appointed to the bench. At the time, my father said, "A judge should own at least one piece of furniture heavier than his ego." Thomas laughed. I laughed. My father had been dead 9 years. The desk remained. The joke no longer did. I found the passports beneath a leather folder. When I pulled them out, a stack of bank statements slid forward. Thomas handled most of our long-term investments. That had never concerned me. I managed my own accounts, our household expenses, and the education trust we had created for Emily. We had separate professional lives, separate offices, separate habits. People assumed that meant we trusted each other. Sometimes separation only gives secrets more places to live. One transfer caught my eye. $3,800. Recipient, Lydia Vale. I read it twice. Then I checked the date, April 14th. The payment repeated every month. Same amount, same recipient. I went backward. March, February, January. Then the previous year, and the year before that. The digital record stopped after 7 years, so I opened the storage cabinet and searched older statements. Lydia Vale. Again, again, again. The first payment I found was from 19 years earlier. $1,000, then $1,200, then $1,500. The amount rose as Thomas's career rose. I sat behind his desk until sunlight moved across the floor and touched my shoes. 19 years. Our daughter had been 11. Thomas had still been an assistant Commonwealth's attorney. I had been practicing appellate law full-time. We had argued constantly that year about schedules, about money, about Thomas missing Emily's school play, about me accepting a case in Baltimore without discussing it first. Marriage rarely breaks during one dramatic night. It wears thin quietly, one postponed conversation at a time. I searched Lydia's name online. There were dozens: a florist in Maryland, a nurse in Arlington, a real estate agent in North Carolina. Then I found an address attached to one of the payment records: Fredericksburg, Virginia. Lydia Vale, age 55, widowed, no social media, no listed employer. The word widowed should have made me feel better. It did not. People assume jealousy is loud. Mine was quiet, embarrassingly practical. I calculated 19 years of payments. I wondered whether Thomas bought her birthday gifts. I wondered if he knew how she took her coffee. I wondered if she had sat in my husband's car, if she had heard him complain about me, if she knew our daughter's name. Then came the worst thought. Maybe she knew everything. Maybe I was the only person living inside an edited version of my marriage. At 5 that afternoon, Thomas came home carrying dry cleaning and a bakery box. "I bought the lemon cookies Emily likes," he said. Then he kissed my forehead. I almost flinched. Almost. Instead, I took the box. "How was court?" "Long." "Anything interesting?" "There is never anything interesting about family court." He removed his coat and folded it over his arm. Then he looked at me. "You're quiet." "So are you." "I'm tired." I studied his face. Gray at the temples, small line near his mouth, the faint scar beside his eyebrow from when Emily accidentally hit him with a toy boat at age 4. A familiar face becomes dangerous when you start wondering which expressions belong to you. That night, while Thomas slept, I searched his phone. I had never done that before, not once. I knew the passcode, Emily's birthday. There were no romantic messages, no hidden photographs, no calls to Lydia. Her name was not saved in his contacts. I checked deleted messages. Nothing. Email. Nothing. Then I found a calendar reminder. Every month, the 14th. One word. Vale. No explanation. I sat beside my sleeping husband and watched him breathe. For 28 years, I had believed our problems were ordinary. Distance, pride, work. The quiet arrogance of two people who assumed there would always be time to repair what they neglected. Now I wondered if there had always been a third person standing invisibly inside our marriage. The next morning I called Lydia. Her number appeared on an old property filing. She answered after 4 rings. "Hello?" Her voice was low, careful. "Is this Lydia Vale?" Silence. "Yes." "My name is Rebecca Sloan." Another silence. Longer. Then she asked, "How did you get this number?" Not "Who are you?" Not Rebecca who. She knew my name. I gripped the phone. "You know who I am?" "Yes." "Then I think we should meet." "No." Her answer came immediately. "You have been receiving money from my husband for 19 years. "I know." "Why?" She breathed slowly. "I cannot discuss this with you." "Cannot?" "No. Or will not." "Mrs. Sloan." "Rebecca." "I am sorry." I laughed once. People say that when they want the conversation to end before the truth begins. She did not respond. I looked toward Thomas's study, at the closed door, At the marriage photographs lining the hallway, our wedding, Emily's baptism, Thomas's judicial appointment. 25 years of carefully framed evidence. Our daughter is getting married Saturday, I said. I know. My hand tightened. How? No answer. How do you know about my daughter? Your husband mentioned it. The room tilted. I sat down. When? A few months ago. So you speak. Occasionally. How occasionally? This is not what you think. Every unfaithful person in history must have shared one script. What do I think? She went quiet. I answered for her. I think my husband has been supporting another woman for 19 years. He has. I think you know details about my family. I do. I think you knew exactly who I was when I called. Yes. And somehow, you believe this is not what I think. Lydia's voice changed. Not defensive, tired. Your husband did not betray you with me. With you. The phrase caught. So he betrayed me some other way? Silence. That silence stayed with me. I should have asked more. Instead, anger made me precise. You should come to the wedding. No. Why? I cannot. Cannot or will not? Both. The ceremony is at 4, Fairmont, Richmond. I know where it is. Of course she did. Come, I said. If there is an explanation, tell me to my face. I am not attending your daughter's wedding. Then I will visit you. Her breath stopped. I heard it. Fear. Real fear. Not the nervousness of a mistress caught. Something older. Do not come to my house. Why? Because some doors do not open in only one direction. Then she ended the call. That sentence should have warned me. Instead, it made me determined. My flaw has always been pride, not vanity. Pride is quieter. It convinces you that control is the same as strength, that preparation can protect you from humiliation, that if pain arrives, you should stand straighter so no one knows where it landed. I did not confront Thomas. I investigated him. For 6 days, I behaved exactly as I always had. I answered calls from the florist, confirmed the rehearsal dinner, approved seating changes, helped Emily choose earrings. At night, I searched. Lydia Vale had once been married to a man named Daniel Vale. That was easy to find. The difficult part was learning why the name felt familiar. Daniel Vale. I had heard it before, years earlier, maybe in law school, maybe during one of Thomas's campaign speeches. I searched newspaper archives. The first article appeared on page 4, April 1997. Local man convicted in courthouse fire death. I opened it. Daniel Vale, 28, had been convicted of felony murder and arson after a fire destroyed part of the old Richmond County Courthouse Annex. A night custodian died from smoke inhalation. The prosecution argued Daniel started the fire to destroy records connected to charges against his younger brother. The lead prosecutor was 29-year-old Thomas Sloan, my husband. I read the article 3 times. There was a photograph. Thomas leaving court. Young, thin, dark hair. The same blue tie he wore the day he proposed to me. Behind him stood Lydia. She looked 30. Her face was turned toward Daniel as deputies led him away. The caption identified her as his wife. Daniel Vale died in prison 12 years later. Heart failure. The room became very quiet. The payments began 7 years before his death. I searched for appeals. There were several. All denied. One article mentioned disputed witness testimony. Another described missing courthouse records destroyed in the fire. Then I found a photograph from Thomas's first judicial campaign. He stood at a podium. Behind him a banner read, "Law must protect the innocent." I closed the screen. At dinner that night, Thomas discussed wedding parking. "The hotel valet will be overwhelmed," he said. "We should encourage the older relatives to arrive early." I watched him cut roasted chicken. "Do you remember Daniel Vale?" The knife stopped, not dramatically. One clean pause. Then it continued. "Yes. Who was he? A defendant. Only that?" Thomas placed the knife down. "Why are you asking?" "I found an article." "About a case from 30 years ago?" 29. His eyes lifted. "You counted." I read. He took a sip of water. The Vale case was difficult. His wife was Lydia. Thomas did not move. That was when I knew. Not what happened, only that the secret was real. You have been sending her money. He looked toward the hallway. Emily was not staying with us, but parents never stop checking whether children can hear the truth. How did you find that? Your bank records. You searched my desk. I looked for passports. He leaned back. For one absurd second, he looked irritated, as if privacy were still the largest betrayal in the room. You should have asked me. I am asking now. Not this week. I stared at him. Our daughter gets married in 4 days. Yes. And that changes the answer? It changes when we discuss it. 19 years of payments, Thomas. He rubbed his forehead. I was going to tell you. When? After the wedding. I laughed. No. You were going to tell me because I found out. That is not fair. Fair? The word rose before I could stop it. You secretly supported another woman for 19 years. She knows about Emily. She knows me. You speak to her, and now you want fairness? She is not your mistress? He looked almost offended. No. Then explain. I cannot. Cannot. The matter is complicated. Complicated is what people call the truth when they benefit from delaying it. Thomas stood, walked toward the kitchen window. Outside, rain touched the glass. He placed both hands on the counter. Daniel Vale was convicted. I know. Lydia lost everything. Why was that your responsibility? He did not answer. Thomas, I made a promise. To whom? Daniel. The anger inside me shifted, not disappeared, changed shape. You visited him? Yes. When? Many times. You never told me. No. Why? Because you would have asked questions. I stood. You say that as if questions were dangerous. He looked at me then. For the first time, I saw fear. Sometimes they are. He left the kitchen. The next day, I received a message from Lydia. I will come to Richmond. Then another. Not the ceremony. One conversation, Sunday morning. I stared at the screen. A third message appeared. Do not tell Thomas, I replied. Why? Her answer came several minutes later. Because he still believes he is protecting you. That sentence followed me into the wedding weekend. Protecting me. From what? The rehearsal dinner was Friday night. 120 guests gathered beneath strings of lights in the hotel courtyard. Emily's fiancé, Nathan, came from a family that considered discretion a form of religion. His father had served in the state senate. His mother sat on 3 museum boards and could communicate disappointment by adjusting a napkin. They liked Thomas. Everyone liked Thomas, Judge Sloan, patient, measured, principled. During cocktails, Nathan's father raised a glass. To enduring marriages. People turned toward us. Thomas smiled, placed his hand around my waist. The gesture was practiced. Warm enough for photographs, light enough to mean nothing. Rebecca keeps me honest, he said. The courtyard laughed. I did not. Across the room, Thomas noticed. His fingers tightened slightly. Not a warning, a request. Please, pretend. So I leaned toward him, rested my head briefly against his shoulder. Applause followed. The performance worked. That was the dangerous thing about lies. Sometimes they protect innocent people for one evening. Sometimes that feels enough. After dinner, Emily found me near the elevators. Mom, she touched my arm. Are you okay? Yes. You and Dad seem strange. We are tired. You always say that. The words hurt because they were true. Emily studied my face. Please do not tell me you are fighting this weekend. We are not fighting. That is not what I asked. I smiled. You should sleep. Mom, I touched her cheek. Tomorrow you marry someone you love. Let that be the most important thing. She looked unconvinced. Then she hugged me. I want what you and Dad have. My eyes closed. Over her shoulder, I saw Thomas standing at the end of the hallway. He had heard. Neither of us answered. Saturday morning, the hotel became a machine. Flowers arrived. Photographers arrived. Makeup artists filled rooms with powder and music. People carried garment bags as if transporting national secrets. At 7:20, I returned from the hotel cafe and found the envelope beneath my door. No name, no room service stamp, nothing. Inside was the photograph. Thomas outside the old courthouse, Lydia in the background, Daniel beside a police car, and on the back, "Ask your husband what we buried." For 10 minutes, I sat alone on the edge of the bed. I studied every face. Thomas looked young, confident. Daniel looked angry. Lydia looked terrified. Then I noticed someone else, a young woman near the courthouse steps, dark hair, blue coat, a cardboard file box in her hands. The photograph was too grainy to make out her face. Still, something about her bothered me, the way she held the box against her hip, the shape of the coat. I turned the picture over again. What we buried, not what he buried. We. At noon, Thomas asked me to speak privately. That was when he handed me the room key. That was when he asked me to pretend, and I agreed. By 3:30, guests filled the ballroom. The ceremony space was lined with ivory flowers and candles, protected by tall glass cylinders. A string quartet played near the windows. I stood beside Thomas at the entrance. He looked handsome. That seemed unfair. People should not look familiar when you no longer know them. The coordinator opened the doors. Everyone stood. Then I saw Lydia. She was outside, across the street, standing beneath a tree. Gray coat, dark hair, hands clasped in front of her. She was watching the hotel, not entering. My breath stopped. Thomas followed my gaze. His face emptied. "What did you do?" The question was barely audible. I invited her. "Rebecca." He stepped closer. "What did you tell her?" "The truth." "You do not know the truth." "Then you should have told me." His jaw tightened. For 1 second, anger appeared. Then fear replaced it. "Keep her away from Emily." The music changed. The doors opened. Our daughter appeared at the far end of the corridor. White dress, veil, tears already in her eyes. Thomas offered me his arm. Outside, Lydia turned away. Inside, our daughter walked toward us. I took Thomas's arm, and we smiled. The ceremony was beautiful. That is important. Pain does not erase beauty. Emily laughed during her vows because Nathan forgot a line. Thomas cried. Real tears. When the officiant asked who supported the marriage, we answered together. "We do." Our voices matched. Afterward, guests hugged us. Photographs were taken. Thomas stood beside me, hand at my waist, smile calm. Every few minutes, I looked toward the windows. Lydia was gone. At the reception, Thomas gave a speech. He talked about Emily learning to ride a bicycle, about waiting outside the emergency room when she broke her wrist, about the first time Nathan came to dinner and washed dishes without being asked. Then he looked toward me. "Marriage is not built by grand promises," he said. "It is built by choosing truth even when truth is difficult." My fingers went cold. The room applauded. I stared at him. Maybe guilt had a sense of humor. Then it was my turn. I had written a speech, 3 pages, funny, warm, safe. I unfolded it, looked at my daughter, then at Thomas. "For 28 years, I began, people have asked me the secret to a lasting marriage." Guests smiled. Thomas did not. "I usually say patience," a few people laughed, "but patience is not always a virtue." The room quieted. "Sometimes patience means giving love time to grow." I looked at Emily. "And sometimes it means giving fear permission to stay." Thomas lowered his eyes. I continued. "So my wish for Emily and Nathan is not that they avoid difficult truths." My voice nearly broke. It is that they tell those truths early enough to face them together. Silence. Then applause. Emily stood and hugged me. "You always know what to say," she whispered. No. I knew what to hide. There is a difference. At 11 that night, I found Thomas alone on the hotel terrace. His tie was loose. Below us, Richmond lights reflected against wet streets. "Where is Lydia?" he asked. "I do not know." "You had no right to bring her here." I had every right to ask why my husband supported another woman for 19 years. You could have destroyed Emily's wedding. She stayed outside. Because she has more judgment than either of us. I looked at him. That sounded personal. It is. Tell me. No. I laughed bitterly. You asked me to pretend we were happy. I did. The wedding is over. The weekend is not. Stop using our daughter as a deadline. He turned toward me. You want the truth? Yes. No, Rebecca. You want an answer that lets you leave angry. I went still. You think this is about leaving? I found your suitcase. You searched my room. You moved out of ours. Because I thought you had another woman. I did not. Then why are you acting like the truth is worse? He said nothing. The terrace door opened. Nathan's mother stepped out. Oh. Her eyes moved between us. Am I interrupting? Thomas smiled. Instantly. No. He touched my back. Rebecca and I were discussing tomorrow's brunch. I looked at his hand, then smiled too. Thomas wants more coffee. She laughed. Marriage. One word. A joke. A prison. A reputation. After she left, I stepped away from him. You are very good at that. So are you. That hurt because it was true. Sunday morning, Lydia waited inside a small cafe 4 blocks from the hotel. She sat near the back, gray coat folded beside her, hands wrapped around untouched tea. She looked older than the photographs. Of course she did. So did I. Pain ages differently when no one knows you carry it. I sat across from her. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Lydia said, You look exactly like your courthouse photograph. My heart stopped. What photograph? She studied me. You truly do not know. Know what? She opened her purse, removed a newspaper clipping, placed it between us. The article was about Daniel's conviction. I had seen it, but she pointed toward the background, behind Thomas. Near the courthouse stairs, a young woman carried a box of files, dark hair, blue coat, me. I remembered the coat. My mother bought it when I started working for the clerk's office. The photograph beneath my hotel door had not been a warning about Thomas. It had been a warning about me. I was there, I said. Yes. I worked at the courthouse. I know. What does this have to do with Daniel? Lydia's eyes remained on mine. You handled witness intake. The cafe noise faded. Cups, voices, music. Everything moved far away. I handled hundreds of files. One belonged to a boy named Michael Kerr. The name opened something. Not memory. A shadow of memory. Teenage witness. 17. Nervous. Smoke damage on his clothes. I remember him, I whispered. Lydia nodded. He gave 2 statements. My fingers tightened. No. Yes. The second replaced the first. I shook my head. No. The first statement said Daniel left the annex before the fire. I stared at her. The statement used at trial said he saw Daniel return carrying a gasoline container. Michael changed his testimony. After Thomas questioned him. That happens. Not like this. What are you saying? I am saying your husband frightened a 17-year-old boy into identifying Daniel. I stood. The chair scraped. People looked. I lowered my voice. That is not true. You asked for truth. You hate him. I hated him for years. Then why accept money? Her face changed. Sadness, not shame. Because Daniel asked me to. I sat slowly. What? Thomas visited Daniel in prison. I know. After 8 years, Thomas admitted he no longer believed the conviction was safe. My mouth went dry. Safe. Legal language. Clean language. A word lawyers use when guilt becomes inconvenient. Daniel asked him to help me. Why? Because by then Daniel was sick. She looked toward the window. He knew he would die inside. I could not breathe. Why didn't Thomas reopen the case? He tried privately. Privately. He searched for the missing first statement. The cafe shifted again. Missing. A word from long ago. A file room. Metal shelves. Boxes. A tired supervisor. I closed my eyes. Memory did not return like lightning. It arrived as embarrassment. Small. Ordinary. I was 23. 2 months into the job. Applying to law school. terrified of mistakes. There had been a stack of witness files. A supervisor told me to send originals upstairs. One folder was missing. Michael Kerr. I searched for 2 hours, then found a copy inside the wrong case box. Or I thought it was a copy. I stamped something, moved something. There was an argument. My supervisor said, "If the prosecutor has the signed version, stop creating problems." Thomas was the prosecutor. We were dating. Not seriously. Not yet. I remembered asking him, "Do you have the Kerr statement?" He said, "I have what I need." I never asked again. My stomach turned. No. Lydia watched me. "You remember. I misplaced a file. You removed the first statement from circulation. By accident. Maybe. I was young. So was Michael." I looked down. My hands were shaking. Thomas knew. Not at first. When? Years later. How? Michael contacted Daniel's attorney. Then there was evidence. Michael died before signing an affidavit. Of course. Not coincidence. Time. Cowardice. The ordinary machinery that protects injustice. What happened to the original statement? Lydia reached into her purse, placed a folded photocopy on the table. My intake initials appeared in the corner. R.B. Rebecca Bennett. Before Sloan. Before Thomas. Before marriage. I touched the paper. The room disappeared. Michael's statement said Daniel left the courthouse annex at 9:12. The fire began after 9:40. At the bottom, a handwritten note read, "Witness uncertain about second person." My handwriting. I pulled my hand away. This cannot be original. It is a copy Daniel's first attorney received before the file disappeared. Why wasn't it used? The attorney died. That makes no sense. Nothing about poor defense makes sense to people who can afford good lawyers. I looked at her. Thomas knew about this. Yes. How long? 19 years. The payments. The first payment. The same year. He discovered my initials. Yes. And said nothing. He believed telling you would destroy your career. My career? You had just made partner. I laughed. It sounded broken. So he protected me. No. Lydia leaned forward. He protected himself. The truth settled. Not cleanly. Not all at once. If he reopened the case, she said, the court would ask why the prosecutor ignored inconsistencies, why he questioned Michael the way he did, why evidence handling records were incomplete. And my name? Yes. He paid you. He supported us. You accepted. My husband was dying in prison. Her voice sharpened for the first time. My son left college because we had no money. I lost our house. People called Daniel a murderer. Thomas arrived one day and admitted he had doubts. She looked directly at me. What would you have done? I wanted to say I would have exposed everything. I wanted to believe that. But 29 years earlier, I misplaced one statement and chose silence because I feared losing a job. What would I have done with a husband, a daughter, a legal career, a mortgage? Pride creates imaginary courage. Real choices are uglier. Why did Daniel ask Thomas to help you? Because Daniel believed survival mattered more than revenge. And you? I wanted revenge. Her eyes filled. But revenge does not pay rent. I looked at the statement again. You knew who I was. Yes. Why didn't you contact me? Thomas asked me not to. And you listened? No. She reached into her bag again, removed 3 envelopes, all addressed to me, all unopened, all returned, dates spread across 15 years. I wrote. My throat tightened. These never reached me. I know. Thomas intercepted them? I do not know. I turned the first envelope over, returned to sender, our old address. The second had been forwarded. The third marked undeliverable. Maybe Thomas. Maybe chance. Maybe the kind of small failure that changes lives. I could no longer tell where betrayal ended and ordinary negligence began. What do you want? I asked. Nothing. Everyone wants something. I want Daniel's name cleared. Then why wait? Because Thomas promised. To do what? Retire. I stared. He planned to retire after Emily's wedding. Yes. And then? Petition for review. My anger returned, sharp. He planned this without telling me. He believed you would stop him. Why? Because your name is in the file. I stood. This time Lydia did not stop me. At the cafe door, she said, "Rebecca." I turned. "Thomas is guilty." Her voice was quiet. "But do not make him carry your part because you are angry he hid it." I left without answering. Thomas was packing when I returned. Not wedding clothes, everything. His shirts were folded into a suitcase. The hotel room looked divided, his side emptying, mine untouched. He saw my face, then the photocopy in my hand. "Lydia told you?" "Yes." He sat down. For 28 years I had watched Thomas speak from courtrooms, living rooms, podiums. He always chose the correct chair, the correct tone, the correct distance. Now he sat on the edge of a hotel bed and looked old. "Did you intercept her letters?" "No." "Did you know she wrote?" "Not until years later." "Did you know my initials were on the statement?" "Yes." "For 19 years?" "Yes." I crossed the room, hit him. One slap. Not hard enough to injure, hard enough to end something. Thomas did not move. "You let me believe she was your mistress. I tried to tell you she wasn't. You refused to explain. Because Emily was getting married. Stop using Emily." "I was protecting her." "You were protecting yourself." "Yes." The answer came so quickly I went silent. Thomas looked at the floor. "I was protecting myself. No defense, no argument." "And you," he added. "I did not ask. No. You decided. Yes. You always decide. Yes." Each agreement made me angrier. Why now? "I filed retirement papers last month." Without telling me. "I plan to announce after the wedding and reopen the case." "Yes." Knowing I could lose my license. "Yes," I laughed. "So after 19 years of protecting me, you finally decided to destroy me." "No." He looked up. I decided Daniel had waited long enough. The room went still. "Why did you prosecute him?" The evidence pointed toward him. "You pressured Michael." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I believed Daniel was guilty." "Believed." "I was ambitious." His voice cracked. "I wanted the conviction." There it was. Not corruption, not hatred. Ambition. A young prosecutor wanted to win. A young clerk wanted to keep her job. An innocent man spent 12 years in prison. People expect evil to arrive with cruelty. Sometimes it arrives early to work, prepared, polite, certain. "When did you doubt the case?" I asked. 3 years after trial. "And you waited." I told myself doubt was not evidence. "When did you know?" "After Michael contacted the defense." "And you still waited?" "Yes." "Daniel died." Thomas closed his eyes. "Yes." "You attended his funeral?" "No." "Why?" "I was afraid Lydia would tell you." I stared. Honesty had arrived too late to be noble. "You paid her?" "Yes." "Did that help?" "No." "Did it make you feel forgiven?" "No." "Then why?" "Because Daniel asked." Thomas stood, walked toward the window. He said Lydia should not lose everything because I wanted to become important. I looked away. Outside, guests were leaving, cars pulling beneath the hotel entrance, flower boxes being carried away, a wedding ending, a marriage ending. Maybe they were always different ceremonies. "Did you love me?" I asked. Thomas turned. The question surprised him, not because he lacked an answer, because we had not asked each other anything that simple in years. "Yes." "While hiding this?" "Yes." "While paying Lydia?" "Yes." "While letting me build a career on a system you knew had failed?" His face tightened. "Yes." I sat. "That is a terrible kind of love." "I know." "No." I looked at him. "You called secrecy protection because it made you feel less selfish." He nodded, then said, "And you called silence responsibility." My breath stopped. "What?" "You remembered the statement before today?" "No." "Not fully." "No." "But enough." I stood. "How dare you? You asked me once." "When?" 27 years ago. The hotel room disappeared. A small apartment. cardboard boxes, law school acceptance letter, Thomas cooking pasta, me standing near the sink. Did anything happen with that missing witness statement? He had asked. I remembered. I had laughed, said, the prosecutor had what he needed. His face had changed, only slightly. Then he kissed me. We never discussed it again. You knew I was afraid, I whispered. Yes. You knew I remembered. I knew you chose not to. And you married me. I loved you. No. My voice broke. You recognized someone who could live beside silence. Thomas looked like I had struck him again. Maybe I had. That afternoon, Emily called. Brunch starts in 20 minutes. Where are you? I looked at Thomas. Suitcase open. Photocopy on the bed. A marriage waiting for judgment. We are coming, I said. Are you okay? Yes, another lie. Mom, I closed my eyes. Emily, your wedding was beautiful. Why are you talking like that? Because it was. She went quiet. Please come downstairs. We will. Thomas reached for his jacket. I stopped him. One final performance. His hand froze. For her, I said. He nodded. We attended brunch. We smiled. We thanked guests. Thomas praised the flowers. I hugged Nathan's mother. Emily opened gifts. At one point, she rested her head on my shoulder. Thomas sat across from us, watching. No one knew that by evening we would leave separately. No one knew that 2 weeks later, Judge Thomas Sloan would announce his retirement. No one knew that 1 month later, we would file a joint petition asking the court to review the conviction of Daniel Vale. The investigation lasted 11 months. Thomas admitted pressuring Michael Kerr. I admitted mishandling the original statement and failing to report its disappearance. People asked why we waited. There was no answer that sounded human enough. Fear, ambition, marriage, reputation, cowardice, love. Choose one. They were all true. Daniel's conviction was vacated 29 years after trial. The courthouse held a hearing. Lydia attended. Her son sat beside her. Thomas testified. So did I. Outside, cameras waited. Thomas resigned before disciplinary proceedings removed him. His portrait came down from the courthouse. My law license was suspended, then surrendered. Some people defended us. Most did not. They should not have. Emily stopped speaking to us for 4 months. When she finally called, she asked one question. Was my whole childhood a lie? I sat in my empty kitchen. No. How do I know? You do not, she cried. So did I. That is what you took from me, she said. Not money, not reputation, certainty. She forgave Thomas first. That surprised me. Then I understood. He admitted ambition. I kept explaining fear. Excuses sound worse when spoken by mothers. Thomas moved into a small apartment near Arlington. We divorced quietly. No courtroom battle. No public accusations. After everything, neither of us had the appetite to turn private failure into another performance. At the final signing, Thomas looked at me. 28 years inside one face. I did love you, he said. I know. Do you regret us? I thought about Emily. Christmas mornings, long drives, hospital rooms, ordinary evenings. Love existed. So did harm. One did not erase the other. No, I said. Then I signed. Lydia never forgave us. That mattered. Stories often reward confession with forgiveness. Life does not. Daniel's name was cleared, but he remained dead. His son remained fatherless. Lydia kept the money Thomas had sent. She used part of it to create a legal defense fund. She named it after Daniel, not us. A year after Emily's wedding, she invited both Thomas and me to dinner. Not together. Same table, different lives. Nathan cooked. Emily wore her wedding ring. For most of the evening, we discussed ordinary things. Work, weather, a broken dishwasher. Then Emily brought out the wedding album. She turned pages slowly. There we were, Thomas and me, standing beside her, smiling, pretending. Emily touched the photograph. I used to hate this picture. Neither of us spoke. Now I think it was the last kind thing you did together. My eyes filled. Thomas looked down. Maybe she was right. Maybe pretending is not always cowardice. Sometimes people hold a lie for one final hour so someone innocent can carry one clean memory. But lies charge interest. Eventually, someone pays. When dinner ended, Thomas walked toward his car. I walked toward mine. For 28 years, we left every event together. That night, we did not. At the end of the driveway, he turned. "Good night, Rebecca." "Good night, Thomas." Then we went in opposite directions. We had not stayed married because we trusted each other. We stayed because neither of us knew the other was guarding the same grave.